I'm going to tell a story about a real detrimental thing that happened in my life, okay? And y'all can think if it's funny or whatever, but here's kind of what happened. I want to talk about why I stayed away from church for so long. This was my very first church situation or invitation. I got invited to church by some folks, and they were pretty kind. They were nice, very, very happy people. And they'll say, hey, man, we're going to go down to the church house and kind of see what you think. And I said, okay, I'll go with you. And they're like, we do it a little different, though. And I said, well, I ain't never been to church, so it should be pretty, I wouldn't know normal and different. They said, okay, well, come on down. I said, okay, great. So we're having the car ride there. We're having a great time. Things are going really great, smooth, just talking about, church and things they do. And we walk in. And they said, okay, we're going to talk to the new folks. Anybody new? And I raised my hand. I said I knew. And I'm standing up, and the pastor starts talking to me. And he says, well, tell us a little about yourself. So, I'm in the Army, and I was young and doing some things here. And he said, I'm thinking about going to church. It might be kind of a thing I'm looking at. And he said, why don't you come up here, and we're going to pray for you. We'll put hands on you and pray for you. I said, well, okay, all right. Well, it's kind of weird. That's kind of new. So I walk up there, and I noticed the pastor's wife was standing next to him. Now, this was a homely-looking woman. I want you to kind of see, think about in your mind where it barely looks like a woman, kind of, but mostly, but kind of. And she couldn't have been 90 pounds, soaking wet, man. And she's kind of eyeing me up when I come up there and said, come up here and lay hands and pray. And I said, okay, great. And they start praying for me. All of a sudden, man, I got snatched up by the back of my neck. And this little girl said, this guy's got a demon in him. I said, oh, dear Lord. She grabs me. She starts kind of swinging me around. Now, I'm in complete shock when this happens. I'm like, oh, my gosh. She goes, we're going to pray for you. And all of a sudden, she karate chops me in the neck. Pow! Now, when the karate chop hit, I was like, I did kind of make like a manly noise, kind of like like that kind of. And she's like, there's a demon in this guy. And I started kind of talking, but I couldn't talk, so it sounded like tongues. They started doing some weird language. And she body slammed me into the baptismal right after. And I'm coming up for air, just fighting for my life. And she's like, come out of him, demon, come out of him, demon. And this is the first time, and everyone's just kind of standing around me. I'm fixing to get thumped. So I get waterboarded for about, 15, 20 minutes as this little woman just shaking me. And I'm starting to cry. Like, this is, he's having a religious experience. He's having a change of heart. And I'm over here fighting for my life. And somehow during this fight, I knocked down the snake cage. As I there's a cage back there. I didn't see it. So all these snakes come running out. People start screaming, oh, he must be the one. And this is some sort of prophecy or something. Now, this is my first time ever down there at the church house. As this is going on, they went from praying to you to laying hands on you. So there's about a 20-minute karate fight that ends up ensuing. So I finally break free because they've got to round up these snakes, and I'm soaking wet. I'm missing a shoe. Somehow I lost an eyebrow. The left eyebrow is gone. I don't really know how that happened, kind of talking about it later. And I walked back to my seat, and I had to spend the whole rest of the church service. They were up there hollering and screaming about something for about, half an hour, 45 minutes. They were hollering about something. I was just kind of, tore up during the whole service. And they're like, well, then I'm sitting next to my friends, and the church ends, and I'm wet. And they're upset because I got the chair wet or something. They end up getting all the snakes rounded up, which was fantastic. So nobody got bit that time. And we're driving home, and like I said, I'm missing my eyebrow, got a black eye, bleeding a little bit. I finally did stop crying about 3/4 of the way through the service, which was very good. And then, so I was like, you know what, man, I think I can get behind this church here. So I wanted to go back to the base, and I started taking karate. Because I'm like, if I'm fixing to go up there again, I kind of think like the pastor's wife was like the sub boss. So to fight her, I was going to kind of take her on and see if I could maybe do a little better,
So you felt it necessary to be better prepared.
Yeah. Because that woman snatched me up, and like I said, I got waterboarded. Once the crying stopped and the snakes got back in the cage, it wasn't that bad. It was kind of a normal thing they did. So then I was going to go back and fight them. Well, they got caught up in some sort of Ponzi scheme, and they went to prison for money laundering. So, they were really, really good folk. Don't get me wrong. They were nice people, good people. But that was my first experience with church. So I was a little worried. That's what I thought was kind of normal. As you walk into the church house, you end up, you get up there, you do a little karate. They holler at you for about 30, 45 minutes about all the stuff you've done wrong. You leave there. Now, my eyebrow did grow back, which was a hard story to tell because, I mean, how do you say you lost a fight to a 90-year-old or to a 90-pound preacher's wife? But that girl could throw hands, and she was hard to look at. I mean, one of them people, when you're looking at them, they are distracting. You're like, I don't know how. Whew, you know what I mean? Because I mean, kind of looked like this here. I was just kind of, you'd be listening to the sermon and you'd be going on, you see, you'd have to kind of refocus back on what was happening because she'd catch you when she wasn't looking. She had kind of like one eye was over here and one was kind of like this, and she had kind of a drool with a tooth sticking up, and that tooth ended up cut. I think that's what ripped my eyebrow off in the middle of that fight. But come to find out, I was not the only person who was waterboarded in the baptistry. That was pretty normal over there. But they did, in their words, get the demon out.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, it did. At
the end of the day, did the demon get out?
You know, it did, and it run off with my shoe. I never did find that shoe. I went out there, I just had like a solid, like I'll come out there looking like an old whipped hobo is what happened. So it was embarrassing, a lot of tears, a lot of self-worth issues after that. Because I had never been snatched up and took a whooping like that ever in my life. That's the first time that, and the last time that had ever happened. So it was a real unfortunate situation. So it took a long time for me to get back in the church game because, you know, I thought when you went to church, you had to throw hands and it was a fight for your life. But come to find out, not all churches are like that, and that was not normal. Hence the rather long prison sentence that they got for their embezzling scheme. They did, in fact, shake me down. When I got back to my wallet, there was nothing in it. Yeah, I had a few dollars. It was gone.
Well, for the service of removing the demon, you needed to pay something.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. And half the numbers were missing off my credit card, too. I don't know how that happened. Like I said, it was a sound beating. I mean, it wouldn't. I want to say I got into a fight up there at the church house, but I was more like attacked.
Sure.
I kind of wanted to press charges for a little while, but I mean, how would that look, right? So this 200-something pound dude just getting thumped by this little 90-pound, look like a golem from Lord of the Rings, kind of, but a little taller.
So, hold on, I gotta know.
Okay.
Did the demon ever come back for the other shoe?
You know what? That demon, I think that church sent me and the demon running. I don't know that demon would ever come through anything like that again. I'm not sure a demon ever took a whooping like that before.
The 90-pound, homely-looking preacher's wife scared off you and a demon.
Now, they may have been brother and sister. They looked a lot alike, like just to be fair, because they said they had a lot in common with a couple folks in the Bible when he's like, hey, this is my sister, don't get excited. I think that's what they were talking about. Yeah, but that demon took a thumping. I had two options. I could either go find a stronger demon because we needed some help because we don't took a whooping, or
you don't ever ask a demon for help.
Well, we'd have had to bring some buddies because that woman was tough. And I think she'd have sent me and about 6 or 7 of those demons screaming to the house. But that's kind of how I thought the whole Bible thing worked. But then I had to go back and tell people that I almost got drowned in a baptistry. That was pretty bad. I mean, because when she had me down there, she's like, demon, come out, and she had this, like this here, and then the bubbles stopped, and I did get a little bit of brain damage from that because when she brought me back up, I was shaking like this, and that's
so
I was shaking. That's when I hit the snake cage, and them snakes got loose, and somebody had a pistol. I think one of them got shot, so they were kind of really upset that one of their snakes got killed over this situation. So it was just an all out. It was a good time. Like, you know, I mean, I came out of that on that ride home, and, you know, once I stopped crying and calmed down, they said, did you have a good time? I said, I had a wonderful time. You know, I've never had a full body workout, plus went swimming and got a haircut kind of a little bit at the same spot. They offered me, you know, they said, hey, would you like to go get something to eat? And, you know, and all. And I said, I can't fight again. Like that one time I didn't have it in me. So anyway, that's kind of what happened with my church situation. And later, if y'all like this one and kind of hit the button there, I got a couple more ideas, a couple more life situations that I think are imperative to understanding where we came from and how we got to this part. So anyway, that's my story.
So whatever happened to the karate lessons?
You know, that when I went up to get karate, that's a whole nother situation. The instructor was blind, and he was blind and he drooled a lot, which was kind of weird. And we're trying to do karate. He's like, do it like this here. And I would do it. And he's like, that ain't right. And I said, how do you know you can't see it? And then he'd slap me. And that whole situation went bad too. That's a whole nother,
that really did happen.
That's a whole nother, I mean, you never know I'm like, can you look at the braille thing and make sure we're karate chopping right? I said, that woman came at me fast. And I'm learning. I did learn quite a bit of karate. I wanted to go back, like I said, for a rematch, but they unfortunately got arrested. And they do get out of prison here in a couple of years. It's been a minute, for that situation. I heard they did want to start a new church. Hopefully, I'll get a letter. We'll go down there and we can see if we can give it a round too. But it was a crazy situation. So, any more questions, kind of on the?
Oh, but I appreciate you sharing that story.
Yeah, it's one that goes kind of without. It flies under the radar. A little strange. I usually lead with that at parties or Christmas events. You tell people like, hey, how we got here was a good sound beating at the church house. That always brings people in to send the devil running and give them a whooping. So
it's definitely a good way to start.
It's only uphill from there. Like when you start in the valley, when you start
when you explain to people what you've been through, it just makes it a little bit easier to understand.
And they say, that's the brain injury. So like I said, I almost died. I mean, when she had me under and she was doing that like Comanche chop thing.
And the bubbles stopped.
Yeah, the bubbles stopped. They were gone, and I was like, I was stuck, and everyone was cheering. They were having a ball. The brain damage thing was a little rough to deal with at first. Every time I'd around a microwave, I'd pee my pants and forget my name, but. We did get a little better on that. So we just keep the microwave a little farther away because if it goes off, it's, not a good deal. So, but anyway, yeah, just happy to share that story and just a real part of my life. And it can be hurtful because it's embarrassing. I mean, when I screamed like I was on fire when she had a hold of me. And that's really not a thing a warrior would want to do. But yeah, so that's what happened.
This was one of many. If you want to see more, like and subscribe. Shut up.